Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to talk about the race and classes overview of Wizardry variants Daphne. And just a heads up, I'm also planning to do a separate, more in-depth guide for each classes later down the line. So this is just for you guys to have something to look forward for. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. Okay, let me preface the guide by telling you guys, at the moment there's no character creator in game, and the character only comes from the fixed pool of gacha system, and the race and starting class has already been set for each character. So this guide will be more focused on understanding the differences of each of those characters that already existed in the gacha pool. And because you cannot customize your character, the only real way to judge those characters is by looking at their character skills, their stat spread, which is usually dependent on the race of the character, and potentially the class change that is available for that character. This is because in Wizardry, when you do class change, you also retain whatever skills that you've learned from your initial class. So in a way, you can have two class skills in one character, and you can also revert your character from the class change back to the original class. So just something you need to know. Okay, first up, let's talk about the races in Wizardry. At the moment, we have 4 distinct races, which are human, elf, dwarves, and beastfolk. Starting off with the human. Okay, the human have a very balanced stat spread for whichever class they would take, and because of that, they are also suitable for any class, and they have no particular weakness. And the good thing about being balanced, having a balanced stats spread across whatever class, is that they are also one of the main one of the group of race that is very suitable for whatever class change that's available for them, because basically they can fit into any class. They just cannot excel specifically for one particular role. And next up, we have the elf. The elves usually have high IQ, speed, and dexterity, but they have low strength and vitality. So because of that, they're not really suitable for forward guard, but they're extremely good for being the rear guard, especially as a mage, thief, and priest, but mostly mages and priests. And then thirdly, we have the dwarf, which has high strength and vitality and dexterity, but actually they have low IQ and speed. And because of the stat distribution, they're usually more suitable for being a fighter or knight, and usually in the front line as forward guide. And they're definitely not a class that you want to put as your thief or mage, especially because of the low IQ. And then finally, we have the beastfolk, which have high speed and dexterity, but unfortunately they have low piety and luck. And because of that, class distribution, they're more suitable to be a fighter or thief, and either forward or rear guard. But if they're forward, usually there's a good argument for you to build them as evasion forward, and they're not really suitable to become a priest or mage, because they're not really utilizing that stat distribution. Okay, next we'll move on to the classes available in Wizardry. There's 5 distinct classes in Wizardry, not counting 6, which is the Wanderer, which is something that's only exclusively available for the main character, and it's not really something that you want to stay as. So it's more like a classless class rather than an actual class by itself. It's something that you want to class change away from later down the line. Well, at least at this stage of the game. So we have knight, fighter, thief, mage, and priest. Okay, we'll start with the fighter. So a fighter is best positioned as a forward guard, but they can also work in the rear guard formation if you're using specific equipment like two-handed spear or bow.
Anyway, they have typically high attack power and vitality. They specializes in physical attacks and they can use many types of equipment. But the most typical configuration that when you want to use as a fighter, the most typical equipment are one-handed weapons plus a shield or a two-handed weapon. And because of their skill sets, they have the highest damage per hit potential. So they're the best character that you can use to optimize opening and sleeping enemies hit, because if the enemy is suffering from opening and sleeping status, the next physical hit that you inflict them will be greatly boosted. So again, they have best physical attack skill set, so I'm just repeating myself. And then they're suitable to be a forward or rear guard attacker. And the main focus stats that you want to utilize your bonus points that you get from your character initial character pool are strength, speed, dexterity, and luck. And the derivative stats that you want to focus on are attack power, surety, accuracy, and action speed. Okay, next we have the knight. The knight basically is only suitable as a forward guard. This is because they have high defense power and vitality. They also have skills that can basically attract enemies hit or cover damage inflicted on your other members in the same group, and they can also continually heal themselves. Typically, the equipment that you want to use will be a one-handed weapon plus a shield, and they have a skill that can convert their defense stats for a chance to stun enemy, which is called stun bash. So they're best built as a defense tank, not an evasion tank. So again, they have a skill that can cover allies and self-heal. And I would say their only suitable role is to be a forward tank. The focus stats for them are strength, vitality, and luck. And the important derivative stats are HP, defense, magic defense, and action speed. Okay, then we'll move on to the thief. A thief is usually suitable for rear guard, but you can also build them as an evasion tank in the forward guard, but it's typically not recommended. They're better off as they're in the rear, and they're good at disarming treasure chests and traps, and they are essential for exploring the dungeons because of this treasure chest stats and their speed, and some of their skills give a very high technical advantage when you open a battle, as they can almost always inflict the first strike on the enemy. And the main weapon that they typically use are either bows or daggers, and because of their high speed, they can usually open a fight. And if you play them correctly, usually you can use them to target monsters like enemy spellcasters and whatnot. And because of their unique derivative stats of having very high disarm trap and evade trap, they are very important for dungeon exploration. And rear guard attacker and forward guard evasion tank is something I already covered. Anyway, their focus stats is the strength if you're using the bow, and then dexterity and speed. And their focus stats are attack, surety, evasion, attack speed, detect, and disarm trap. Okay, just something I need to highlight. Even though speed is important for thief, you don't really need to focus much on pumping their speed, because most of the time their speed will be way ahead compared to your other party members. And they also have a skill that basically almost guarantee their initiative in battle. So it's not really something that you really need to focus on. Okay, then we have the mage. Okay, the mage will almost always be staying at your rear guard. They're equipped with powerful spells and also utility spells like slowing down the enemy or inflicting sleep on your enemy. And because of their very very low vitality and HP pool, and the fact that they cannot equip like I'm pretty sure they cannot equip anything other than cloth armor, and that's why they'll always be staying at the rear guard. Okay, they can equip two-handed stuff. They can also equip one-handed stuff plus shield, but because again they're not really tanking in most cases, I recommend you to use two-handed stuff instead. And they can use their spells to exploit elemental weaknesses on enemies, and they are also one of the few classes that actually have an AoE nuke and debuff, and they're extremely good for power leveling using AoE nukes, because sometimes you just want to grind or whether for junks or for experience, and it's a good idea to basically just stay near a Harken and just blast the enemy with AoE nukes until your MP runs out, and then go back to town, sleep, and then repeat the process all over again. So they're good for manual grinding. And typically the role they play is only rearguard, attacker, or support. Their focus stats, there's only two, IQ and speed. So IQ gives an increase to magic power and a little bit of MP, but not so much. HP, MP, and SP is something that's mostly tied to the class itself rather than the base stats. And then finally, attack speed is also very important, because a mage that can open a battle by casting sleep on an enemy is a blessing to your party and dungeon exploration. Okay, finally we have the priests. The priests are usually more suitable in the rear guard, but they can also function quite well in the forward guard if you build them towards that. This is because they can wear light armor and also can wear one-handed staff and a shield to act as a tank, but also as a half tank, half buffer for the team. Anyway, the skill in healing and supporting allies, and again they can wear two-handed stuff if you want to go if you want to build them as a full support, but they can also go in the front if you make them wear one-handed stuff or blunt weapon with a shield. They're typically the healer or team buffer, and they usually only serve the role as a support or a tank. And their focus stats are piety and speed, which translates to divine power, MP, and action speed. Okay, up next is something that's not very known in Wizardry. Is the fact that there is in fact RNG element in the character stats. Okay, first up, the starting stats of the same character can differ very slightly. This means that, let's say for example, your human character can start with, let's say, 13 strength, but there's a chance that even though it's the same character, if you register that character, sometimes that 13 strength can be 14, sometimes it can be 12. So there's very minor stat differences, but it's all up to luck. But the more important point is that Japanese players have basically been consolidating their character stats, and they found very good evidence of RNG in stat growth as well, not just starting stats. And as you build your character more and more, as you increase your character level higher and higher, it seems like the starting bonus point of that goes from 5 to 10 will be less significant over time. Okay, let's see the comparison that the JP players have basically compiled. Let's take for example Geralt. This is the legendary dwarf character. Warrior is basically fighter, and if you take these stats, we can see that let's say for example, okay, HP not that important. We'll take strength. This is force according to Google Translate. So your Geralt can have here. A Geralt can have 81 strength up down to 67. So that's like 14 stat difference and because since BP only goes up to from 5 to 10, there should be at at most only 5 stat differences. So as you can see here, your Geralt that you build as a fighter can have like very unlucky roll to get very low strength compared to another person which can get 81. That's 14 stats different, which is actually quite huge, almost 25% of the highest Geralt roll. And at the end here, there's also a total stat, which says here if you total every basic stats, you can get this figure. As you can see here, Geralt can get down to 306 total stats, and another Geralt can get up to 317. So because of this, you can go through this page later. I'll post the link down in the description. But basically, there's no use, like in my opinion, there's like not much use in stressing yourself over your starting bonus point because of this RNG element. I'm not sure why they do this game design, but it is what it is. And my recommendation is if you level your character to 50, just compare your character with the one with this JP database, just to show just to have an idea how your character stats look like. And then finally, some important notes before we end the video. The main character can freely class change to any class via a mechanic called the Well of Mind. So that's why you can play whatever you want with your main character. But of course, because of the stat spread, there's some and how consolidation of skills interact, I'd still recommend you to play a physical attacker as your main character. And then next, each character can class change to one other class from their initial class. This is a fixed selection from that is tied to each character. Let's open this for a while just to show you. Here we go to the training room.
If you have time,
let's say I take Katrina. I can class change her as a mage to a priest. And each character can only class change to one other classes. This is specific to each character, and it requires a scroll that you can only purchase from a weekly shop, and it requires gem to do so. Let me show you.
Do come in.
No, not item shop.
Come again soon.
Welcome.
Limited time
What do
offer,
you seek?
weekly. And at the bottom there, there's a class change scroll. Let's say for example, Marianne, I have Mage Handbook, and then Knight's Handbook for Barbara. And basically, if you want to class change with your character other than your main character, you need to consume this item, and it cycles through a weekly basis on at the shop. It's very RNG, so I wouldn't recommend you to explore this yet at the moment. And if you want to class change, let's say for example from A to B, if you want to change back from B to A, you require another scroll for that character. This is why Barbara, that comes with the starting class of Knight, have a Knight's Handbook, because if you want to change Barbara from whatever class that she can change from, you need to use this Knight Handbook again. So not really something that that we really want to explore at the moment, because it's way too RNG to get this item. And then number 3, we have no definite data on how much each stats contribute to what numerically. This is something that I cover inside the focus stats here. For example, let's say piety and the derivative stats is divine power. You don't know how much piety gives to divine power, because apparently there's also some variety multiplier that exists within the character class itself. So let's say for example, what I'm trying to say is 10 piety translates to X amount of divine power, but it's not the same as 10 piety on a fighter. versus 10 piety on a priest. So we don't have a specific numbers yet on how those numbers translate. But now what I can really say is action speed is universally good. So most of my character pumps one primary stat, and the secondary stats is always speed to buff my action speed. And then finally, what I want to say is each character is generally viable, which is unlike other gacha games where the power level differences of the super rare pool, the legendary, versus the unnamed is very wide, and there's almost no scenario where you want to use the unnamed character versus the legendary, because in this game there's a magician, there's an unnamed
I
magician
am always ready
called
to serve.
Elf Magician, which is quite good, only due to because of her stat spread as an elf, and also her starting character. She doesn't have basically anything extra to go on, but she's viable enough to be used in your party. So I just would like to end the video with basically just play whoever you like, because it's also interesting to hear the character interaction with your main character during your dungeon exploration. And that's it. Thank you very much. Bye.